Hi everybody, welcome back. We are here live from IMEX 2023 and we have great guests in our podcast studio, improvised podcast studio. Amy Kramer is the innovation leader at Merit's global events, where she has held various leadership roles since 2007. With a degree in psychology, Amy drives growth and innovation. She's a master designer and has earned industry awards such as RPI Spotlight and Smart Meeting Innovator. Nick Fagan began his career as a sound engineer in live theater in the early 2000s. With experience in various disciplines, he became a technical manager for multiple venues and teams. Nick's passion for pushing boundaries and embracing new technology made him a recognized industry name. Welcome, guys, in our podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
This intro was a little bit maybe too official, but let's start with more unofficial questions. So I will jump immediately to AI story, which is all around us. We are talking for 2 days about that. What AI will bring to our industry? Is it a threat or is it an opportunity? We should start with you.
Thank you so much. I think AI is just coming out. I think it's just the start to helping us as an event industry be so much more effective in the way in which we communicate, in the way in which we plan, and also the way in which we can engage with our audiences. I'm super excited to watch it, and we've been exploring it for some time now.
Absolutely agree. Artificial intelligence is a tool we already use. I think what we have to be careful now, as the name or the brand AI becomes more relevant and popular, people use it like the metaverse, right? So there are certain things that people call AI that are simply not AI. That's not a massive problem, we can deal with that. But really with AI, what's it about? What's the tool and how does it help you achieve your solution is actually really what matters with artificial intelligence. And we use it already to achieve some amazing results.
In this context, I want you to think about the possibilities. We know that there's a lot of industries that feel already disrupted, especially ChatGPT kind of made this big wave of fears. And I heard a really interesting comment about even the copywriters who now can feel perhaps that their livelihood is at stake. It's about embracing the technology. What would you say how to approach it, that we embrace it in the right way?
Can we start? So I think there is a lot of fear because there's a lot of unknown, but embracing it and looking at it as an assistant, for instance, it's not going to replace our own voice and our own knowledge of a subject, but it's going to help us be more productive and be more focused on being able to reach that. I saw one application just even this morning where you can be speaking in a session and record that session and then allow AI tools to help you produce content to promote all of the work that you've done. So being able to do that in a matter of minutes, it's amplifying your voice. It's not replacing your voice. And I do think that also speaks to copywriters and artists and all different types of roles. It's going to help them be more effective in their role and also have a stronger voice by being able to use these types of tools.
I absolutely echo that. I think artificial intelligence needs to be used as a tool, and that's certainly what Merit's and DRPG do. We have our AI toolkits. I'm using AI today when I'm speaking on the booth. I'm tracking real-time engagement with customers to determine what slide I show next. Now, I don't need to think about that, I just need to click, because the artificial intelligence is telling me these customers want to know more about facial recognition, facial analysis, or it might tell me they don't. So I'm using it as a tool already in one way, but actually every day in reality, I can think of a dozen ways that I personally use it, and the team use it. So what it means for an individual isn't that I believe, personally, my role is threatened, it just means I can achieve more.
But what is a definition of event in metaverse? That was also a discussion yesterday. How would you define this? In a simple, let me say, one sentence. What is a metaverse event?
So to me, a metaverse event is not about replacing a physical event. It's about extending the value of that event and using it as a way to reconnect or connect. We actually have a couple of metaverse applications happening in our booth, and it allows us to actually bring people in from all over the world to experience this because they can't physically be here. So using it as an extension and a reach.
I absolutely agree with that as well. metaverse is a coming together of technologies that mean people in a virtual environment can have meaningful interactions. That is how I define the metaverse. Now, that might be controversial to some because there are absolutely virtual reality platforms that we talk about that I believe are, for our customers, best explained as a metaverse type solution. So that is often the fear that I receive from customers is the metaverse, are we missing something? Well, actually, the metaverse is a phrase that applies to a coming together of technologies.
But what is the market potential of it? How can you evaluate this as a big company is working in our industry for years, and you are well known,
So the reach is really far beyond events. It's really looking at ways to connect people in really meaningful ways, as Nick said. We're looking at it as event extender. If you think about this type of environment with IMEX, you have to physically be here to experience it. But in a metaverse-like application, you can take this experience and extend it and allow people to connect in this environment throughout the year in order to achieve those connections. We're also seeing it happen in retail, to be able to take those live experiences and be able to allow people to connect in those environments, as well as for exhibitors to be able to take their booth and their presence and be able to replicate that in a way that they can connect with their customers post an event.
I think, look, with the metaverse, it's another viable communication method that can be built into hybrid events. There's no reason in the metaverse that you have to only speak to individuals in the metaverse. Actually, with technology and solutions that, with Moritz and DRPG at the helm, you can engage with people that are not on a VR headset whilst you're in the metaverse, right? And I think it's important to note that it's an additional tool in an already wide arsenal of solutions. So, and I think actually, do you know what? There's something with all events. If you don't ask your customers, how will you attend? And you don't offer them a choice, actually, I think sometimes you've got to ask, will they attend? And people expect that choice, largely, I feel, due to the situation with coronavirus and other things. People now understand remote technology better. So the metaverse is plugging a gap and adding to our already wonderful arsenal of solutions.
Something that you said kind of resonated there, Amy. We are now at IMEX 2023. So post-COVID, we know how to use the technology. We have more tools than ever. In a way, we are in a booth the way it was designed many, many years ago as well. How would you apply these events and perhaps the power of, AI, perhaps to change and to make it even better? I mean, it's a great event, but how would you apply these technologies?
So I think right now we see a limitation in only having a physical location to be at. Looking at ways that we can take the metaverse and use it as a way to extend the reach of this great event to more people. Because there's a lot of people that cannot travel. There's also a lot of people that have limitations with schedules. And being able to look at ways to extend this event and also have it be accessible throughout the year is another great way to just build the community and the connectivity. Right now, we're limited to just having this once a year, and in a metaverse application, we would be able to experience this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And can conduct commerce and extend reach.
Now, to what you said, so I couldn't agree more, right? So do you see an example of this already happening that you would know of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see AI already increasing the effectiveness of solutions. I mean, you could almost point to any booth and I could give you an idea of how we can enhance that offering. Here now we're being broadcast, right? You've got an engineer doing a wonderful job, mixing cameras, mixing mics. Well, what if I told you now that we could supply a solution where actually you don't need an engineer to do that and we can achieve an almost impossible result? You could make it feel like you're in a massive television studio with simple plugins like Tinkerlist using VMix, etc., right? So every booth, if it understands correctly, actually there is an enhancement that can be made, often cost effectively. Actually for Moritz in our booth, we're using AI right now to understand the demographic that's on our booth, who's engaging when. We can score when Amy speaks in her sessions on the lab, we're looking at it going, Amy had an amazing engagement score. In fact, 70% of the people in Amy's session loved it. That's great. So let's talk more about what Amy's got to say, So many different ways you can apply so many different solutions that I just think you'll see it more. But I'll be clear, there's no one solution to roll out across IMEX to answer everybody's booth. It's multiple artificial intelligence disciplines that will mean the great results.
Looking for why,
Yes.
always. But can you elaborate a little bit more? What is the percentage of live events at your agencies, hybrid events, metaverse events, digital events? Can you explain this, or is it a secret?
So, just really quick to answer your question, we have a number of solutions in the market today that could support metaverse applications for clients and for IMEX. So that's something that we've already been exploring, and we've been doing this for some time. And it is creating that digital replica of an event experience, or even a portion of the event experience, so that you can extend it. So anybody that's interested can absolutely call Merritt's and DRPG, and we can consult on that. As it relates to what we're seeing in the marketplace, physical and live events are back, and they cannot be replaced. So those have come back twofold from the COVID experience. But we are seeing, as Nick said, we need to meet and meet the needs of multiple audiences, and being able to do that with physical events, with hybrid events, with digital events. We have clients that, from a sustainability perspective, have canceled all of their live events. They really just want digital because they want to have a lower footprint. But we also are seeing that blend. So I would say it's probably 80% of meetings are physical, and there's that importance. But now we have this demand for 10% digital. That's what people want. And then I would say probably another 10% of hybrid.
I agree. In fact, what we're seeing at the moment is a bit of variation and inconsistency with popularity. So what I mean is, obviously during COVID, broadcast hybrid, the only way, right? Then after that, initially customers continued because it was a great return on their investment, cost-effective solution. But now we see customers actually getting frustrated with remote experiences and wanting to be face-to-face more. So we're seeing personally our largest return from face-to-face events in a traditional way, but albeit with these additional plugins of artificial intelligence, etc., to make it better. Second to that is hybrid. Now, DRPG and Merritt's, we've been doing hybrid a long time before it was popular. In fact, initially when customers were like, what is the metaverse and how do we use it? I was showing them stuff from 2006, 2008 that would now be called a metaverse solution, right? So actually these technologies are not particularly new to us. It's just the way we use them is enhanced and customers understand it better. So yeah, I would say then metaverse solutions in third place to hybrid, etc. At the moment.
So what would you do with the group of totally introvert participants? How to engage them? Let's assume that they are IT guys, coming to a conference. They are all more or less introverts. So how to make them happy, at the end?
So this is where we see a lot of the value with avatars and being able to create your person in a metaverse environment. A lot of people don't want to show up as their normal selves. Yes. So when you can add that type of element or experience, you actually get more from the introverts because they can feel like they can be themselves or a version of themselves in a meaningful way. Using any of those gamification type tactics like avatars or all the other ways to engage without it having to be a physical presence. We see a lot of engagement in that regard. And it's also about having different choices and different ways to engage. A lot of people might not want to be in a live experience, but if they can consume content in metaverse or in digital in different ways, then that is how we speak to introverts.
Absolutely agree. Also, I think one simple way to explain that question and answer it is, if you change that word from introvert to uncomfortable, right, I really think that's what it is. If you say somebody's introvert and they're not an adopter of these technologies, that really means to me they're uncomfortable with these technologies, right? So it's about making people comfortable. It's about understanding your audience and knowing what you need to offer them the solution that they will engage and, most importantly, retain the message. And that is how. There are multiple tools we use, like I say, but that is the most important thing, because then somebody that is an introvert or uncomfortable is no longer so.
We've seen, let's say, a full circle of, the hype and the low and the ups and the downs in the last couple of years. So we know that metaverse became a huge thing, and then we saw the stock plummet, and it's nowhere right now, right? So it's kind of stagnating. In a way that, of course, is a very special way of perceiving, metaverse events. Like you said, there's been, the use of these technologies before. Now, how, because we are all trying to guess, right, what that sweet spot is, what is the ideal combination, what is the solution that we're trying to find, and when we find something that can help us, we're all afraid that it's going to change it in a different way because nobody expected it, right? But how important, actually, even for events like this or for other, exhibition type events, how would you bring in gamification into that?
No problem. There are so many ways to bring in gamification that actually meet and drive engagement. So it could just be, do you know what? You could bring gamification, and the end objective is to make sure that you drive delegates around all the areas of an activation. Do you know what? Incentives, easy, right? But there's RFID, there's NFC, there's all the things that have been around for a number of years. There are some amazing technologies now that are completely passive and mean for somebody like an introvert, having to go somewhere and slap an NFC or an RFID tag is not a problem. But for others, they might feel a bit uncomfortable doing that. Well, actually, with the camera I've got on my booth at the moment, I can read a QR code from 15 meters away. Actually, do you know what? I can, through a thing called vector RF trilateration, pinpoint where somebody is within an exhibition hall to with accuracy, of around a couple of feet. So there are passive ways to use technology to drive gamification that mean the customer doesn't even need to be aware that this amazing technology is being deployed. But
would you be then using the badge reader, or how would you follow someone, or it would be signal that you're trying to follow?
So you could do both. The vector RF trilateration that I'm talking about is probably the coolest thing, where it looks for a device with a traditional signal anywhere on the spectrum from Bluetooth to 6 gigahertz. Wi-Fi, etc. So my watch at the moment is transmitting Bluetooth and a MAC code because it's looking for Wi-Fi. My phone's doing the same. When we plug those sensors into artificial intelligence, it will figure out that actually this watch and this phone are always transmitting a similar signal level, no matter where they are. So that's one person. It'll figure out that Amy's got an iPad, a laptop, a watch, and a phone, but that is actually the same person because it's always transmitting the same signal. And then if Amy chooses to do so and goes, I am Amy, we can go, actually, Amy is engaged in these areas and we think she'd be really interested in that. And then truly, the possibilities are endless. There are so many things that I could talk to you about that we could do with that to encourage engagement and gamification.
The only thing I would add to that is the lessons that we learned from the gaming community and the gaming industry has been very interesting to apply into the events world. So thinking about all of the tactics and the deliverables that are associated with gaming and e-gaming and esports has been a great way to apply that, both in a digital sense and in a physical sense. But from a metaverse perspective, when we talk about engagement and we talk about gamification and how can we keep people engaged in those types of environments, it's really about applying the principles of game design and thinking about how we can leverage that, because you have people of all ages that engage in the gaming space, and applying that in the event space is huge because everybody engages in that way. Whether it's creating an avatar, whether it's creating a space like Minecraft or areas like that, people have fun. And so when you can bring those fun principles in, then that's how you can engage people in those spaces.
Have you organized an event where you would actually be applying, I don't know, the avatar element into a part of the program as such, I don't know, for an incentive or something like that?
Yeah, so we actually launched our first metaverse experience with a client. And what we did is we replicated the event experience on site at a trade show, and we put it into the metaverse. And the way in which we could encourage participation is we allowed those individuals to come back into the space and really chart their own journey. So being able to walk the trade show floor as if they were here in presence, be able to connect with exhibitors and conduct commerce in individual booths. You can also chart a specific experience and gamify that experience.
Who owns the data then? Who's the owner of the data? Do I own data or participants?
We try to look at data very agnostically and look at how we can make action and relevancy to that data, so that if that data can be providing the guest a better experience. So giving me information about my personal experience so that I'm used to do something different, value to the attendee. For the exhibitor, looking at all of the data that surrounds an event that's going to add value to them for their return on objective, and then ultimately the show organizer, how can they take all of that data, understand it, apply it, and make meaning of it so it can enhance all of the experiences.
Interesting. Another question is the free Wi-Fi or 5G a basic right, fundamental human right of participants? If we are talking about all these technologies, then we need to have also infrastructure which, really runs.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, absolutely it is. Sometimes people use it to drive to work in an automatic, car that'll drive itself. We use it for banking. We use it for healthcare. We use it for everything. So why is it any different at events? Well, I can tell you, it's not. So people should have access to free data.
If you are bringing people into an environment and they are giving their time, they need to have access to be their best selves. They need to have that connection. I think it's a lot to put that on the attendee to be able to get that connectivity or to pay for that connectivity. If they are giving of their time to attend, it should be covered by the host, in my opinion.
Absolutely agree. I think it's a shared responsibility. You can't rely on venues for connectivity.
Amazing. We can talk for hours at time. So we usually with some short questions to you, and you need to answer shortly or elaborate a little bit more. For you, Instagram versus TikTok?
What I prefer? For me, it's definitely Instagram. Yes, I think for me, Instagram is about being able to share your story and share your life and share your experiences, whether it's in professional or personal. I think TikTok is more for influencers and marketing and promotion, but that's my perspective.
I'll give you a triple question.
Triple threat.
So, live, hybrid, live, augmented, or virtual reality?
All three, obviously. That is a really good question. For me personally, it's live. I love face-to-face. You guys have just found out that I can talk all day, right? So I'm that person. But I'm so different to the next person, and everybody's an individual. So, augmented is amazing. I've been experimenting with smart wearables now for some time, and we're about to add a stage where to really enhance the offering. The possibilities with augmented and people with a difference or a neurodiversity or a disability are unimaginable. Actually, doors are being opened to people that could not interact with certain platforms. So it is realistically all three, but for me, it's live.